So since you've been the Premier, we've seen double in the deficit. So can you tell us a bit about what the point of the deficit spending is?
Sure. Well, we've got to correct the course. We inherited a trend where the government was spending more money than it was bringing in with some of the country's highest taxes, and the daily increase under the Selinger government's term of office in our provincial debt was about $9 million a day. So it's just not sustainable. We've seen our credit rating drop twice in the last year and a half.
Great.
We're going to need to look for ways to find efficiencies. So we've started on that exercise. We've got a performance review that we just launched here. That's going to look at ways of getting better value for money, just as you would do in your own home, or every small business person does instinctively. We have to do in government as well. But it's a tricky thing right now because we also have some of the worst social services in the country. We have serious problems with child poverty. We've got the lowest rated school test results for our kids. We've got the longest waits in many categories of health.
Child and family services is
a serious problem.
Yeah.
And we also have a real challenge in the sense that under the NDP, our tax load increased more significantly than any other province over the last 5 years. So it's not right to just go back to people and say, here, you're going to solve the problem. You're going to work for another month of the year and pay taxes to the government. We don't think that's right. So we're looking for ways to find money, and we're going to be launching in the next couple of weeks our pre-budget consultation. But we're really, really focused on doing outreach across Manitoba, both within government and in the private sector, to find ideas on how to save money within our government operations, how to find better efficiencies. We started ourselves by reducing the size of government at the top. We felt the top had gotten too big. Bureaucracies grow, right? And so we've already started on that exercise, finding savings within government, but we're looking for more ideas from Manitobans. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. We're going to have meetings all over the province. We're wanting Manitobans to get involved in that process.
And just a quick follow-up here.
Sure.
During the election, they had all those commercials, Pallister's running with scissors, and I kind of always made the joke, I kind of wish you ran with a chainsaw, because we need some cuts in this province. And will there be any significant cuts that we will be seeing soon? Because we're still looking at our taxes and they're high, and that goes across the board. And I was wondering, are there going to be any significant cuts that we're going to see in the upcoming months?
Well, I'll answer in two ways. I guess first of all, I don't even like scissors. I'm left-handed. Okay. So I just don't enjoy scissors. But what I do enjoy is getting good value for money, and that's how I built my private sector business. And that's how I've worked throughout my time as an elected person. Because it's the trust of people who pay their taxes that I think you got to stand up for. And most people don't have the time to come here to the legislature and protest to get a subsidy or a kickback or money from other people. They're working, they're volunteering, they're raising kids, they've got their own business that they're trying to make a go of. I always remember those people, because those are the people that make our economy go, right? And they create jobs for our kids. And so the long answer, I guess, to the question, but I think it's really critical to remember those people. So for us, it's finding the overlap, For example, we brought in, NDP created a thing called the East Side Road Authority. It's a whole administrative entity, but to help connect certain communities in the east side of the province to one another. Except we already have a government agency that does that. It's called Manitoba Infrastructure. They know how to build roads. They know how to tender projects intelligently. They've been working at it for years, and they're good at it. So we eliminated the East Side Road Authority itself, and we'll do that within government. Now, it's tough to cause people to lose their jobs, and this will result in about 80 people being moved out of the East Side Road Authority. Some will be hired in transition to help with the transition over and the new operation. But our government is very big in Manitoba. It is per capita, it's the biggest in Canada of all the provinces. So we're looking at ways to work with our civil servants. Some of them want to retire. The baby boom is the baby boom, and people are getting closer to retirement. And perhaps not everyone will get a position refilled. Our people are team people. in government. They want to get the job done, and they know that the way it's been going is just not sustainable. So, short-term decisions are hard. But good governments make those decisions. We've been making them, and we're going to continue to, because we need to get the province's finances back on track.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally interesting how freeing the markets, people are worried about losing their jobs, but when you free the markets, that means more money for the businesses, which means higher wages, which means, all these things, all these problems solve themselves.
It works together, actually, because the best way to build an economy isn't government subsidizing money-losing companies. The best way is freeing up discretionary income and letting working people and working families decide how to spend a little extra money. And if you can put that extra money on the kitchen table, well, if you don't take it off in the first place, I guess that's the best thing, because then folks will go and they'll say, well, let's take a little trip. Let's do a renovation on our house. Let's go and buy a new couch and chair. Like this stuff creates jobs for people. And these are the real jobs that aren't ribbon cutting for government people, but they're the real jobs that we want to see created by Manitobans. Manitobans can create jobs for our friends and our neighbors, and for ourselves too. There's lots more self-employed people now than there's ever been. So I'm kind of excited to see the power of Manitobans unleashed, and we are committed to not jacking up taxes. We've brought in legislation which gives the right to Manitobans to decide, and we believe that showing that faith and trust in Manitobans is the right thing to do.
Okay, and quickly, how long will it be until we see that PST lowered?
Well, we're committed to doing it in our first term, but I didn't commit to doing it the first year, because I think it's going to take time to sort of turn the canoe. And if you're a canoeist, you know that you don't turn it quick, because you don't dump. So it's going to take time to turn that thing. We inherited some real problems. And I'm not making excuses here, but I'm being realistic. The NDP signed very, very generous contracts, no layoff clauses for a lot of the government employees. Those cost money. Those contracts were signed, and they have to be honored. So it's going to take time to work through some of the challenges we face. But we see the light at the end of the tunnel. We know it's not a train. We know that Manitobans deserve to have that PST lowered. They were promised that it would be at 7. I want to get it back to 7.
Absolutely, and this guy right here is from Norway. He knows a thing or two about big government.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I got a question actually. I study economics and look at taxation and so on.
Sure.
What do you think about the implementing a flat tax among? We're talking about not just the lower income people, but also the corporations. So, but you have a low flat tax for everyone. And if you have a lower tax, you'll bring in a substantial amount of new business.
Yeah, part of that, there's some appeal to that. What we've tried to do, we've taken steps to alter our system somewhat by raising the basic personal exemption, the point at which taxation begins, right? Okay. We started taxing people here at $9,000 approximately. Saskatchewan's about double that almost, So we started with a system that was punitive, let's say, for lower income people.
Which is important.
But the appeal of what you're talking about is the simplicity of administration. I think for a lot of small business people, they really like the idea of a simpler system. Some of the moves that the previous Conservative government made were in that direction, with simplifying corporate tax rates so that you reduce the number of brackets, you level out, there's not a penalty for making money. Removing disincentives to be profitable and to grow is a good thing. I'm not a big believer in taxes that inhibit growth, that oppress against growth. But one thing I think, welcome to Manitoba. I think it's important to learn from one another. There are things that Norway does on healthcare delivery that work far, far better than what we're doing here in Canada. And that's it's one example, though.
Some places maybe.
Well,
but
in certain areas of Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, there are better delivery methods. People live longer, costs are lower. My point, I guess, is just that it's a big world out there, and we should learn from each other. Learn from the best practices that we see around the world. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thanks for taking the time.
I appreciate the time.
Thank you.